Hey friends, and welcome to Mortisect's Top 10. Today is a little bit of a different type of show. Usually we will review movies, but today we're throwing that out the window. We're doing a Halloween special, everyone. And as you can tell, we are not in our regular clothes. If we were, that would be a little bit weird. But as always, my co-host, Tatiana Szpur, a.k.a. The Witch. And I am dressed as a vampire or somebody who looks very gothic. But today, again, we have a very special show. We have with us today a special guest, Adam Lucas, that we're going to be interviewing. And we have a couple of other special guests that will be appearing. And also, we are going to show our first short animatic film that was produced by Mortisect. I think you'll like it, and we'll show that here today. So let's get started, everyone.
So today we would like to welcome Adam Lucas.
Thank you both.
Thank you so much for coming
It's
today.
a pleasure.
Adam is a Westchester-based writer-director. He's known for Locomotive, It Plays Like Love, and The Empty House, which is available on Amazon, and it's a really amazing horror movie short, so you guys should check it out. Hi, Adam. Thanks so much for coming today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
So, Adam, first of all, I think your work is amazing, and
Appreciate that. Thank you.
and as a screenwriter, it's so cool. And I'm always interested about the process. So, can you tell me a little bit about when you started writing screenplays, when you really got into it? And
Sure. Yeah. I made little films with my friends, I think as far back as high school. I think I wrote my first screenplay when I was in college. I was studying psychology. Is a breezy 160-page script with no plot, I think, whatsoever. had two framing devices, one of which I think was like an epigraph, like from a novel, but it was intended to be visualized in the film. So if you're looking, I have a picture for you. It's fantastic. And then I just sort of never stopped from there and wrote and produced a bit in the meantime, but really settled into writing over the last few years.
And what inspired you to go into the horror genre specifically with your script writing?
Yeah, I actually... there was no firm decision, I don't think. I really loved horror ever since I was a kid. I don't know why I never tried my hand in it up until really The Empty House, I think, was the first thing that I had written.
Okay,
I think so, in horror.
Wow.
And I think at the time that was it was sort of a confluence of, for me personally, it was sort of a political film. It was sort of written around 2016. I was rereading Dracula at the time, and those two things just sort of worked together and had this idea that, I don't know, you have this monster. And there was just, sure, he's capable of all of these things. But I think as I was rereading it, I thought, well, this guy's got like a hell of a support structure. Right? He's got all of these Roma in Transylvania who are collecting his mail and sending out Jonathan Harker's mail, and they're filling his coffin and bringing his work. And he's got connections to real estate attorneys in London and all of these people doing his work for him. And so I think we just had this idea that what would a Dracula story look like if instead of focusing just on the monster, we focused on the support system around him that allowed these atrocities to continue. And so again, sort of being a political film, in and around 2016, it became this film about beneficial complicity. So I don't know. I think it was just the right time, and I was reading the right thing, and so it sort of became something that was a horror script. And just since then, I haven't looked back. I think I really enjoyed the process of working in horror, and never stopped since.
Okay.
I was going to ask you, do you have a favorite scene in The Empty House? And if I'm not mistaken, when I looked into your filmography, that's really one of the first films that you directed, right? Is that...
Yeah, so I worked with a co-creator up until that point. So we sort of, the credits aside, we really wrote and directed everything together, Locomotive, It Plays Like Love, and The Empty House together. But as far as a favorite scene, I really like the way the film culminates on Ria's, who's the actor who's in the film, her face. I think that's just a really... The way that it was captured, the cinematographer, I think her performance, I think that was just a really, actually with everybody and with Joseph as well, and that just came together to be a really nice moment at the end. I just think I like that sort of punctuation mark at the end of the film. I always, rewatching it, I'm always stunned, I think, by how well everybody did in that moment.
I actually have a favorite scene. Can I share it?
Yeah,
because
please.
I love the movie.
Please.
So I laughed so much at that scene when she first arrives at the house, the coffee scene. And I think for me, okay, can I share a little bit of a fun
please.
fact? Is that the lead actress, Allison Gregory Lucas, is my cousin.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's so fun watching it and like growing up knowing her.
Mm-hmm.
Because we come from a family of people pleasers. So I think that scene is so perfect when she's like, yeah, I would love some coffee if you're already making it. And then he's like, do you want coffee? Yes or no? And she just is like, doesn't know what to say. I just think that scene is like, I love the touches of humor you have in the movie throughout.
It was a lot of fun and working together with everybody on it. I think I don't know that we intended this from the start as sort of we started the story together, but at some point we just had this idea that, what if we told this story in the style of a soap opera, and I think as we leaned into that a little bit, it opened up some moments for humor visually in the dialogue and things like that. It became really fun. Yeah. Thank you.
And that is so cool, and especially with a horror film. And this is a short film, so you really have to be tight. I mean, you have to really be able to fill that 15 minutes and create that atmosphere right away. You can't really just work on atmosphere. It's hard. First, it's extremely hard. So that's what was so impressive about writing that type of script. Sometimes people might say, oh, well, it's a short script, but you know what? You have to use all your techniques and skills to make it really sharp. And it definitely shows. And also the way the actors were interacting. I think that definitely made the atmosphere even more elevated and really creepy. With saying that, do you see yourself doing more horror, or do you want to branch out into maybe other genres, or you just don't want to just stick with one?
I don't know. I don't know that after The Empty House I intended to sort of typecast myself into horror. Sure. I think I've just enjoyed it so much that for the time being, I'm really enjoying the process. I think there are still a handful of stories that I would really like to tell in the genre, at least before I'm done. But that said, a lot of my favorite films and many of the films that I see are, not genre specific. So as with anything, if there's that spark of interest, who knows where it goes. For now, I have a lot of untold stories that I really want to get to still within the genre.
And since The Empty House, you've actually written quite a few horror scripts, right?
Oh my goodness, yes.
Can you give us a little bit of like a sneak peek into any of them?
Sure. So one of the ones that for the last actually has changed hands a few times. It has been with a few producers over the last few years, and now there's a director attached. We're very excited. So hopefully we can turn the corner on that. Was actually an adaptation of another short. It was a Charles Dickens short called The Signal Man, about a haunted railroad, which is something that I read. There was some interest. I think there's a really interesting modern story somewhere in here, and wrote a 15-page version of it that was intended to be a short. And then somewhere along the line, sorry to get off track for a second, the story is, it's about a haunted railroad, a railway worker who sort of represents this old-fashioned form of masculinity. He's worried about his job, he has medical expenses, he has a sick child at home, and the ghost represents those anxieties. And the story is sort of told from his perspective. And at one point, I just had this thought, well, if he has all of these fears, then his wife at home is probably having these fears as well. What if she's being haunted by a ghost as well, and they just don't talk about it? And that's part of the problem. So it became this story about how we can have similar fears and anxieties that instead of bringing us together can really tear us apart. So again, speaking to stuff outside of the genre, it's almost a little family drama set in a spooky hallway. It's almost at some points it almost doesn't feel like a horror film. So that's one thing that I've been working on that I'm really proud of, and hopefully we can turn a corner on very soon. Again, with someone attached who I think brings a lot to the script as a director and has a lot of very good ideas. We'll see. Fingers crossed.
That's great.
I think that's really powerful too, because people always say with relationships, the biggest thing is communication. And I think that's where things always go wrong, is when people aren't communicating.
Absolutely.
So I think that's really powerful to have that as the theme in your movie.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. And it also reminds me too, because we always say, oh, the horror genre, but it overlaps. And one of the perfect examples when we did our top 10 favorite horror films, which you can check out on the YouTube channel, Tatiana picked Silence of the Lambs. And one of the comments that we got from one of the viewers was, Silence of the Lambs is not a horror film. And we talked about it, and you mentioned too that some of your friends were even saying that. But when I looked it up, because I said, well, let's see what other people have said. it crosses genres. So there is elements of horror, there's drama, sometimes, not Silence of the Lambs, obviously, but others might hit on comedy. So for what you're describing, it sounds like, it has horror, but it also has those other elements too. And that's what makes it more multifaceted. I think if you just focus on horror and you said, it can't be anything else, then your film might fall flat.
I agree with you. And I think some of what makes horror films truly horrifying is if there are films in the genre that exist so deeply inside a haunted house. That's fine. Those are very fun. They can still be frightening. But horror is when those things approach you in a realistic setting or the real world, and you don't know how to face them and you don't know what to do with them, right? Like fear is the space between deciding whether or not you're going to fight or flee. It's that moment in between where you don't understand the difference. That's really, I think, where fear is. So to put someone into a haunted house where everything is just about the horror of it all, you can strip that emotion out of it and not have something that's actually frightening. But when you take those elements and put them in a realistic setting, I think you can really achieve something that sits firmly within the genre, but at the same time is rooted in something else. I think, absolutely.
That was well said.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm definitely always most scared of the ones that get inside your mind, the psychological horror thriller. I don't know what you would call it, but I love that about The Empty House, that you have that in there.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely.
Was it John Carpenter who said like horror is not a genre, it's a mood or it's an emotion?
It sounds like something he would say, him or Wes Craven, but I think it's John Carpenter.
Okay.
I think you're right about that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that argument is so age-old at this point, right? Silence of the Lambs is or is not a horror movie, and it's really fun to argue that back and forth, I think. Yeah, that's part of the fun.
And that's what we say. That's why we like doing the top 10 countdowns, because you can definitely disagree. If you look at any of our lists, even the one that we did for the Halloween, the Disney films, we left out some stuff. And but that's great because you want people to discuss that. That's what makes making films and even writing scripts, it makes it fun because even with the short that we did, that short animation, I showed it to people and some people like, oh, wait, I thought this was happening or that. And I was like, you know what? That actually makes it even better that you're contributing and thinking about it and making it your own.
That's what you want. I mean, part of what you want good art to do, right, is to challenge you also, is to challenge, enlighten, entertain. But challenging is part of it. And to have those conversations, that's part of why you go. If everybody walked into a movie and saw the exact same film and said, yeah, we all agree, and you walk out, well, what's really the point, right? The conversation afterward is part of what you're asking people to do. Sometimes those films that are the most divisive are the most interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So as somebody who's a movie buff, because I know that you definitely are.
I've seen some films.
And as someone who's so involved writing and directing in the horror genre, what is your favorite horror movie? And this is a two-part question, it's going to be hard.
Oh, no. Okay.
What is your favorite movie that's not considered a horror movie, but it's scary to you?
I love it. First, favorite horror, is this like Desert Island, what I would take?
Yes.
If I had my personal
You
favorite,
could
or
only
like what I
watch
would shoot into
two
space
movies
is like
forever.
Okay.
One of them's
Oh,
a
my
horror
goodness.
movie, and one of them's a movie that's not horror, but it's scary to you.
Okay, if I can, I'm such a sucker for. Oh my goodness, I'm such a sucker for like traditional haunted house movies. They're like warm blankets that I could just fall asleep to, like Poltergeist and all 700 of the Amityville movies and the original Conjuring, or like the was like 61, The Innocents, things like that. I love, so I would take anything out of like the haunted house genre and take them with me. I think that's fantastic. I don't know that they necessarily scare me, but there's something about them that I
know
really
what you
enjoy.
mean. Yeah.
Atmospheric.
Atmospheric,
Yes.
that's exactly right. And something that scares me that is not a horror movie. My wife is going to make fun of me.
That's good.
Oh boy, here we go. The Muppet Christmas Carol.
So you ever think about puppets, huh?
I don't know what it is. It's the ghost of Christmas past that is horrifying to me. It sits in that uncanny valley space of, what are you? Are you a fully grown? You speak like a fully grown person, but you look like a baby. You're kind of present in the room, but also you're translucent. There is something about that I think if that thing, which is supposed to be kind and friendly, right? But if that showed up in my room, I would be so gone. I would never be back in this state. It horrifies me. I've had nightmares about that thing. My son loves it. I've had nightmares about that thing.
I can remember nearly 1900 years. I am the ghost of Christmas past.
That's my horror moment that I can't It terrifies me. I'm sorry.
I think that's an amazing choice. But
I think so too, because thinking now about it, I used to just say, oh, it is creepy, and sometimes if it's so nice and ethereal,
Right.
you expect something really horrible underneath, especially if you're a pessimist. So I completely
Maybe
get
that's
it.
partly where I'm coming from. So like, what are your tactics? You shouldn't be this friendly. I don't know what you are.
I can see right through you, but I can't. What's going on here?
I also think it's really powerful because that whole story was written so long ago, in the 1800s.
Oh, yeah.
And it's still it's such an important thing today. Like, I remember the character of Scrooge as a child, and I was always afraid of being Scrooge when I grew up. It's a very powerful theme.
Absolutely.
Of like corporate America, even.
Yeah, I mean, it's still very relevant right today.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And Dickens just a great horror writer. I think that the first line of that novel is maybe my favorite like horror line of all time. First line. I'm going to need you to cut all around all of that.
No. Anytime you see a YouTube video and somebody goes, "Oh, can you cut this?" How many times have I seen it that they don't cut it? It'll probably stay.
Thank you.
Just,
I'll start again.
Yeah.
Favorite first line, I think, of a novel that is not necessarily horror, but it's Marley was dead to begin with. I just think is a killer first line. He's such a good horror writer, and that's not necessarily what he was doing. But yeah, which is why I think when I stumbled upon the Signalman short, I was so impressed because, as you said, it's hard to write. It's hard to write short anyway. It's certainly hard to write short horror because, as you said, it's so the atmosphere is so necessary, and you have no runway, you have no real estate to do that. What he accomplishes in I think 8 short pages is just incredible.
Yeah, every word means something. It's funny, I had a class once with creative writing, and we had to look at like the first lines of books that we liked. And there was one from Charles Bukowski. It was from Post Office. And the first line is, "It began as a mistake." It already drags you in. You're like,
That's
well, what is a mistake? What are you doing here? So that was impressive that you mentioned that, because that definitely leads into something that it already is grabbing you, and you need that immediate grab for those types of like short media.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Actually, that makes me really curious because I don't know much about script writing. Is that a thing in script writing too? Is the first line in a movie or the opening scene really important? Do they talk about that?
There's so much focus on the cold open now, and it's funny because then you end up watching a lot, and that's something that comes up. Even I've had these conversations. You have to hook someone from the first 3 pages. By the first 10 pages, you have to have them. But then you watch a lot of really strong films that don't necessarily have that at all. Talk to Me recently always comes to mind. I watched it again recently. It has that cold open. I don't know if either of you have seen. Not Talk to Me. I'm sorry. Talk to Me. With the hand, with the creepy mannequin hand. Okay, I think I'm saying the right title.
I know of it, but I can't say that I've seen it.
Okay, it has a cold open, and then if you watch the film, I mean, it just spends its time with the characters for the next 25 to 30 minutes. It doesn't shove set piece after set piece down your throat. It really lets things grow. I think there's a tendency to be afraid that if you don't hook the audience right away, that you're going to lose them. I think a well-written script is going to hook the audience no matter what, whether it has something right off the top or not. That said, I think the problem is that everybody who is out there reading these scripts that you're sending them to has 100 of these things sitting on their desk, and they're looking for any excuse to throw them aside. So if they don't find something interesting in those first 2 pages, I mean, I'm guilty of it too. There are certain awards that I nominate for, and I feel really badly because I try to go through as many of them as possible, but at the end of the day, you just run out of time, and you're looking for something in the first 5 to 10 pages of each story to give yourself an excuse to keep reading. It's not ideal. It's unfortunate, but I think that's what happens.
I totally relate to that as an actor because they always say, like, people have decided the second you walk in the room. Everyone makes a big deal about first impressions, and you have 2 minutes to be in the room, and like they're going to decide everything in those 2 minutes about you. And I never thought about that from a writing perspective, but now I can see there's a lot of pressure too for you guys to make that impression in the first few pages.
It's really funny. I mean, I have a tendency to write. I don't know if other people do this, but I certainly do it. There is a version of the script that I know that is the script that I'm sending to management, producers, that is written to hook them right at the top, to be very clean, to almost tell a narrative. I tend to write almost a little bit of prose because I just need the person who's reading it to get through the script. It's really hard to do with the intention in mind that somebody who's going to pick this up is going to be able to take some of this stuff out and rearrange it, because that's not really what's meant to be shot. And I don't know if that's a good thing to do or not, but it's almost like a sales package. Like I will write a showable draft that is very, I feel like a salesman on the floor that is like, look at it, look what happens right at the top. Look how neat this story is, thinking that like, oh my God, no one could ever actually make that script. Like if someone picks this up, the first thing we're going to do is get rid of some of this stuff. And I've had that happen, but yeah, you're almost trying to sell someone a product that can't really be shot. You're selling them a blueprint that can't be made. It's really strange. This industry is very strange.
No, but it makes sense though, because you're trying to engage them right away.
That's right.
And if your strength is in writing or narrative writing, then it makes sense to do that.
Right.
Because at least, if anything, even if they didn't make it, they'll see your talent
Right.
and say, well, this person can do maybe another script, or we can get him to do this, and we can have somebody work with him if dialogue was an issue. But
that's a really good point. And I think they do tend to look for that too, is say like, okay, well, this maybe isn't the script for us, but this person can write or has interesting ideas. What else can we do with them? I've had relationships that have worked out like that. I have literally a producer who I've had a conversation with who was like, I don't like the script at all, but I think we could do something else together. It's really strange.
That's awesome, though.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's like, thank you and blank,
Right,
but
right,
thank you
right.
mostly because it means I can work. Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
But yeah, and maybe you're almost expecting it sometimes because you're like, oh,
think so.
I wanted to rearrange the script anyway, but this is just like the
for
script
sure.
to get me in the door.
Oh, for sure.
That
Well,
makes
it's one of the
sense.
fun parts about the collaborative
Yeah.
process. I think once you get over the point of being precious with your work, seeing what other people contribute and letting them rearrange things and get in there and add certain things, that's part of the fun. It's part of why I really enjoy working on screenplays and in film more than I do, I don't think I can write prose or novels to begin with, but rather than sit alone in a room and crank out a story, I like the act of having someone come in and be like, this works, but what if we moved this over here? What if we added this element? That is always the best part of the process for me, especially when you find someone who shares the same sensibilities and is working toward the best possible product without another agenda, which also happens sometimes.
That collaboration. I completely get that.
Yeah.
Now, Adam, do you have anything that you're immediately working on or anything that will be coming up that the audience might be able to see?
There's one project that actually I'm working on with a director, and we're actually about to crank out an entire first draft in a little bit less than a month's time.
Wow.
Which I don't think I've ever done that fast before, but the project came to me. He came to me with a project. He had a very clear idea. It was a very sound pitch and premise, and really we just sort of went in there and fleshed out the narrative a little bit and put together a really solid outline, transposed it over to the script, and it's about to be done. So I'm really excited about that. It's a more studio-based script than anything I've ever done before, so that's exciting. Nothing that's about to hit theaters, but things that hopefully are about to turn a corner and maybe hit theaters soon enough. So
That sounds great.
yeah.
Is there anything that you would like to plug today to our audience?
No, I'm
or
just
is
here,
there-
happy to chat horror.
You're just happy to... That's what I love.
Yeah, I'm bad at selling myself, but I love having this conversation, so I really appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. And if you don't mind sticking around, we have a couple of other things that are happening in the studio today for Halloween.
Yeah.
And audience, I would like to share something very special with you. It is called A Traditional Romance. It is an animatic film, and we were very fortunate to have the talented Tatiana Szpur as the main character. I make a very small appearance towards the end, but we really do hope you like this. It's a short horror film, but I also think it's one that transcends the genres, as we said, because it's psychological. There's a lot of other stuff going on, but this is the first time we're showing it ever. It is called A Traditional Romance, and it is starting right now.
I have many boyfriends. They're so sweet. They bring me candies and flowers. Very traditional. I love it. I really like the old ways. Like gentlemen callers in Victorian times. So amazingly lovely. But what's a girl to do with all of these chocolates and carnations? I should really share them with a lonely girl. You know, I was a lonely girl once too. A long time ago. But that time is over. And I have all of my boyfriends, my gentlemen callers, to shower me with attention and romance. A gentleman caller. He just gave it to me. So romantic. So romantic. It makes me weak in the knees. How can a girl be so lucky? In the past, no one looked at me. They thought just because I was quiet that I was a weirdo. Now look. Flowers and the admiring eyes of men. The naysayers would be so jealous. Good. They deserve to be jealous, living their boring, conventional lives. Who needs one loving man and a couple of needy kids when you can have gentlemen callers attending to your needs? I love red roses and baby's breath in a beautiful vase. Yes, that's it. You're so good to me, Harold. Come by soon, dear. Bye. My parents mean well, but they are so conventional. I hate conventional, but love traditional. Is that a paradox? It may be, but I define conventional as boring and traditional as romantic. The conventional is a plain Jane, a Karen who hangs out with other Karens who talk about their miserable existences. Whereas traditional is a man in his finest clothes offering his hand to his beloved for a dizzying, enchanted night on the town. So, there you have it. I'm not the paradox. Your lives are the paradox. This should have been here already. What is going on today? It's supposed to be a perfect day. I haven't had a day like this since before. My boyfriends, my dear gentlemen callers, they would not even recognize me now. They might turn their heads at me. I cannot condone this behavior. I was promised roses and baby's breath, and roses and baby's breath I shall have. Harold is going to hear a mouthful later. Marnie, calm yourself. You are a traditional romantic, not a run-of-the-mill conventionalist. Keep composed. No ill words. Play aloof with Harold. Let him know through your actions that tardiness will not be tolerated. Ever. You're late. Why didn't you call me? I cannot condone your lack of communication when it comes to my romance. Find a way to atone for your apathy and plainness. I love them! I simply love them! Who says traditional romance is dead? They're dead. The everyday skeptics, the today people, all of them dead inside. Not me. Not Harold. Not my boyfriends. My gentlemen callers. We live on love and roses and all of the beautiful things that say we are beautiful and in love with love. We are eternal, like Keats and Shelley. Lord Byron curses their modernity and would love me like his greatest lover. Shame on your world today.
Yes, Mom. I left the roses on Marnie's grave. Yeah, the florist took forever because they were running low on baby's breath, but I got them there. Yeah, I know, Mom. She received flowers every birthday from Harold. I really don't like you mentioning the man's name. I don't care what anyone says, Mom. It's his fault that she did what she did to herself. Harold disappeared, Mom. If he didn't, she'd be here right now celebrating her 30th with us. The cops can think whatever they want, Mom. I say he was bored and he skipped town. Marnie was in love with him, even though she made those comments about him. She called a lot of people boring and conventional. That was her thing, Mom. She was a free spirit. That's what they do. They speak their mind. Oh, okay. Okay, Mom. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have brought it up. Please. Okay, thanks. Have a good night, Mom. I love you. Bye. Welcome back. We really hoped that you liked a traditional romance. It was something that kind of just came up, and we really hope that you liked it. And Tatiana, I really thought was amazing in it. She really is an amazing actress. If there's anybody out there that's casting, Tatiana would be available. Not to speak for her, but Tatiana, what was your favorite part of doing? Because this is the first time you ever did like an animatic movie, and it was just your voice, right?
Yeah. It was really different for me. I've never done voiceover work before, so it was really exciting, and I loved the script. It brought up a lot of inspiration. I was thinking about a lot of different things. I was inspired by Tennessee Williams, big time, who you said you were thinking about when you were writing it.
It almost came out because it's funny. I did a playwriting class many years ago, and it was just an elective. So I decided, let me take it, and we did a lot of work with Tennessee Williams. So it's funny how sometimes you'll have an inspiration or you start seeing something that bubbles up and it's from something that you did in the past or something that you read from in the past. So, it definitely was, especially The Gentleman Caller. I mean, if you saw The Glass Menagerie, that was one of the popular things that Laura was saying.
Right. So the voice was so fun for me to come up with. And I was thinking a lot about Blanche and also of Sally from The Nightmare Before Christmas was a big inspiration for me in this piece.
Oh, I could kind of see that now that you mention it. It's funny. You just told me your secret, though. But no, you were excellent in it. You never know what to expect.
But no secret, because it's always got to be coming from you. So it's not copying. It's just inspiration, as you guys know, as artists, too.
Absolutely.
Hey, a lot of people borrow. I mean, Quentin Tarantino, he's made a career of that. So there's nothing wrong with it. And anytime, even if you borrow or you were copying, you're still making it yourself. You're putting your own spin, even if you feel like you're not.
Yeah.
But
and
no,
I always
you were amazing.
bring personal experiences to my work, and in a safe way. There's a very safe way to learn to do that. So it was a really fun role for me to do. I'd never done voiceover, and I really liked the character Marnie. I had a lot of fun.
And you were amazing in it. And guys, you know what? The show is not over yet. We still have some more Halloween fun. Right, Adam?
I'm excited.
Are you ready for this? So we do have a special guest that's on Zoom. And his name is Skip, and he has somebody who's very famous in his family who makes a lot of horror films. So, Skip, you're on, buddy. All right, so Skip.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? So I could tell, Adam, when you look at him, he does have the family resemblance of Jason Voorhees. This is Skip Voorhees, everyone. Now, Skip, are you doing any films with Jason? Okay. Does anybody have a question for Skip?
I have actually a really important one. I'm interested in revamping my skincare routine. And I think you look amazing. I was wondering if you could give me a little bit of advice. Do you exfoliate? Do you moisturize? Do you wear sunscreen? I'm just curious what's going on there. I mean, his skin is glowing, right, guys?
Absolutely.
I wonder if it's the red stuff that I don't want to even think what that red stuff is. Now, Skip, I mean, is it hard living in the shadow of someone like Jason? I mean, he is, when you think of Friday the 13th, I mean, it's such a big franchise. So does that intimidate you in any bit? So you're a man of few words, I see, or no words at all.
Not that it comes up often, but how do you get the blood out of the beard?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm glad I don't know that, because that would mean that I'm doing stuff that I shouldn't
Again,
be
not
doing.
that it comes
and
up often. Maybe I incriminated myself. We'll talk afterward. We'll talk afterward.
A fellow bearded man yourself.
right.
Yeah, so that's one of the things, too. It must be itchy also to wear that mask, right, Skip? Okay.
I think I offended him.
I guess we did. So that was Skip Voorhees, the cousin of Jason Voorhees, Friday the 13th. Okay, so that was our special guest, a man of few words, but we also have a couple of other special guests as well that might be coming through the door any minute. Uh-oh. Oh, my God. Holy smokes. It is
God, scary.
It is some scary people as he knocks into. So who are you?
I'm Kissy Missy.
You're Kissy Missy, also known as Norah, as she's knocking me out here. So you're Kissy Missy, and who's your boyfriend?
Huggy Wuggy.
Huggy Wuggy. Oh my gosh! And who are you?
I'm the closet monster.
The closet monster? Who are you really? Take that mask.
Hey guys, I'll show you who I really am. It's me from Chase Tackles Halloween, Chase Plays Roblox, Chase Series Nerf Guns, aka Chase. What's up, boys?
Hey everyone. So this is, as you know, Norah. And Adam, you mentioned that you saw her on.
Big fan of her Disney list. Yeah, it helped me choose some things for my son. So great suggestions.
That's awesome. So we have Norah here, and then we have Chase. So Chase is a YouTuber as well, a content creator, and he does Chase Tackles Halloween, Chase Plays Roblox, and also Chase reviews Nerf guns. And it seems like he always wants to add a channel, but Daddy can only do so much editing. I don't know if you have any experience editing, but it's a lot.
There's only so much time.
Yes. So what we're going to do, guys, we're going to cut to a quick segment of Chase reviewing some animatronics from Spirit Halloween. Now, Chase, before we do that, what is your favorite animatronic from Spirit Halloween this year?
Well, there's a lot that are like very cool because this year, guys, if you don't know, Spirit Halloween's theme this year is the carnival, I should say, theme. And let's just say it's a very cool one, and they're all very cool. They have like a lot of creepy clowns and stuff like that, but today, this year's my favorite animatronic is Cotton Candy Dan because I like how when he's talking, I like how he tries to jump scare people. I think I've seen a couple of people when I was filming, when we were trying to cut to something else in one of my videos. I think I saw somebody got startled when he opened up his cotton candy bucket and the head popped up, and then he's just saying random creepy phrases. And I like how his eyes are glowing. It's sick.
It is pretty cool. Now, Adam or Tatiana, have you gone to Spirit Halloween and seen any of these animatronics, or do you have any favorite animatronics?
My son loves them. He is 3.5, is completely engrossed in all of these horrid animatronics. He is afraid of the sun on the Teletubbies because it has a baby's face, and that freaks him out, and he runs out of the room, but I take him to Spirit Halloween, and he's like, cool, severed head, killer clown, these are my people.
They got some scary ones, too. They have Art the Clown this year. They have Ghostface from Scream. So I would say Cotton Candy Dan is really cool, Wanda Webworth. So what we're going to do right now, guys, we're going to cut to a quick snippet of Chase's Spirit Halloween adventures, and we'll come right back and finish up.
Alright guys, so we're going to check out the animatronics. So first off, we got Ghostface. He's always the classic for this year. And he is $280, and here's my sister. And guys, like the wobble hand of death, everybody. Yay. That's from Nate, guys. Now we got the next one. We got Night Terror. Bro's looking good. All right, let's do you. Hold on, guys.
I'd love to thank our special guest today, Adam Lucas.
Thank you.
Screenwriter, producer, director, many exciting things coming up in the future. And as always, my co-host and fellow ghoul, Tatiana Szpur. And I'd like to thank Chase from Chase Plays Roblox, Chase Tackles Halloween, and Chase Reviews Nerf Guns. Please like and subscribe to him. And Norah, she's looking at the lights. We do have wonderful lights. I'd also like to thank Tim on the other side of the board in LMC TV Studios for all the work that they do. Thank you so much, Tim. We really do appreciate you. And guys, please like and subscribe. Please hit the notification bell for any new notifications. And thank you for coming down the rabbit hole with us, friends.
And check out The Empty House on Amazon Prime.
Absolutely. Check out Empty House. It is worth it. Bye, friends.
Bye, guys.